Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm Gamesplaining Paris. So this is Paris set up as a 2-player game. The only differences with the 3 or 4-player game is some of these tokens have a marking for 3 players or for 4 players, and so they are replacements of the ones that are currently out. Also, the number of keys each person is playing with will change depending on the player count. So in a 2-player game you have 10 keys each, in a 3-player game it's 9, and in a 4-player game it's 7 keys each. Other than that, there is one other rule that changes with the 2-player, but that's just in the scoring. So other than those little things, the game plays the same no matter what your player count is. So this is the proper setup. I'm going to remove these just so that we can actually see what each player has, but in the proper game that is closed off information that no one else can see. And you also have the ability to remove that if you want, but I think that we can see the other side of that, so we don't need to remove it. It just looks fun. So I'll leave it there. So what happens with the game? What is the purpose of the game? We have 3 piles of cards. The very first thing that happens on every single turn is you take one of the top of one of the 3 piles and put it onto a location. So the city location is marked on the back, Montmartre, for example. So this one would come off. It's marked as number 3 on the bottom right hand corner, which means that's going to go over the 3 on the Montmartre area. So gradually the city will be building in that way. Every turn someone's going to place one of those markers until there are no more markers here. Just bear in mind that 3 of them were removed from the game before we started. They were removed at random, so there are going to be 3 open spaces that don't get filled up. Then what you're doing, once that tile has been placed, you are selecting a location for one of your keys. At the beginning of the game, you can merely put a key into a bank. So let's work on the same area. It doesn't have to be the same area, but I will go to the same area. So you put your key in the bank, you will receive the money that is marked on that bank. You'll notice that Montmartre has 7 money available, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2 money working your way around the board. On your next turn, you have the choice of, so once the tile has been put out, you have the choice of either placing a key onto another area. You cannot place another key onto the same area where you have a key in the bank already, or you can move up the area. So because there is a 3, he can move this key to that point. It costs him 3 money to do that. How do I know it costs 3 money? There it is. Because I'm moving to a number 3. If the number 1 was available, I could move to the number 1 and it would only cost me 1 money. If the number 2 is available, I could move to the 2 and it cost me 2 money. If the 1 was available, I could move to the 1, paying just the 1 money. And then on a future turn, I could then move from the 1 up to the 3 and it cost me 2 more money. So the actual cost of getting to that location is going to be the same no matter how many locations I've gone through previously. So that's the turnout. This guy can then move his key to there. It will cost him only 1 money instead of 3 money. You gain the token that's next to it. So in this case, he'll gain the wood. If he'd moved there, he would have gained the gold. I'll talk about those in a moment and what we do with them. Now, every area that is a 1, 2, and a 3 enables you to move around the outside circle. That's marked up in this top left-hand corner. So by going there, he can move anywhere around the circle, which means he's moving this guy to here, 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 here. He could move anywhere. He could even move all the way to number 30 if he wished as the first turn. Each of these tiles that you would gain, so if he goes there, you would remove the tile and that gives him 3 money. If he goes here, he gets a wood, a stone, a gold, he gets 4 money. Each thing is a little bit better, but once you have moved onto something, you're not allowed to move backwards on a future turn. So every time you're moving around that circle, you must move in a clockwise direction, which suddenly means there's value in getting this stuff at the beginning, simply so you don't miss out on getting it. With those bonus tiles, you are allowed to immediately gain what is on the tile, or you can gain it later on in your turn. So if he, for example, went to that location, you take that tile and just put it on the side. At any point, he can trade that in for 4 money, and that is then removed from the game. Now, on a future turn, if he moved to the number 3, so spent an extra 2 money to move up, you'll notice if you look really closely, there's a -2. That means it's going to cost him 2 money to be able to action the outside. He can't gain one of these extra things back here. He has to continue moving forward. And he might, for example, move to there. That is going to get him 2 points for every key he has on a level 1 spot. So he doesn't have any at the moment, so he might just hang on to that until he has a number of keys on the level 1. And you'll notice if you look all the way around, this one's giving 6 points for each key on a level 5. This is getting 7 points for each key on a level 8. I'm not going to go through what all of these actually mean. They are listed on the back of the rulebook for you to be able to search out for yourself. So that's the basics of the game. On a future turn, if he goes to here, so when he went there, by the way, he did gain that gold bar. When he goes there, so he would have to pay another 5 money to get from the 3 to the 8. He would gain that gold token. It will also cost him 1 wood. When you spend a wood, it goes into a publicly available area. And what can happen now that there is wood there, anyone can purchase that wood, but it will cost them 4 money. And that's the same with any of the resources. There's nothing available at the beginning of the game, but as they are used, other players or even yourself are able to then purchase those resources in. You can also, if you're running out of money, you can sell. So if he has a gold, he sells that for 4. If he were to purchase it, it would get it back for 6. So he can put that in, take 4 money, if that's what he wished to do. The other thing that will be on each of these level 8s is 2 points. So he would gain 2 points for that movement immediately. And make sure any of those points are taken straight away. Now there's a couple of other elements that we need to be aware of. These elements over here, for starters, if he had a stone, what he could do is release that by releasing a stone, which is marked in the top right hand corner. That goes into the draw pile. He would need to then spend 1 money to get from an 8 to a 9. And then he has the option of turning in these markers. That's the bronze marker. You'll notice that some of them have the silver, some of them have the gold. For each bronze marker that he turns in, however, he would get 3 more points. So if he was able to turn 3 of them in, and that's the maximum you can turn, if you had 4, you can only turn in 3, you would get 9 points for going there. But he's just turning 1 in, and that's also removed from the game, but that will get him 3 more points. So what's the purpose of this game of moving around each of the areas? I hear you asking. What's going to happen is once there are 4 keys on an area, so let's just, for example, throw some extras on there. It doesn't matter whose keys they are, but when the 4th key is added, so let's say this is what it looks like, nothing has happened. When the 4th key is added, that would cost him a money to move that across. He now has the option, white now has the option, of course he was the one that put the key there, of grabbing one of these tokens, which is going to give points for an area at the end of the game. You can take any of those tokens you wish. This one is the maximum points, so it's 20, 10, and 5. The minimum points is 10, 5, and 2. That can be added to absolutely any of the regions. So he could add that there if he wished. Or he could add that to the region that he's just collected it from. What that now means is this area of the city at the end of the game is going to score. Whoever has the highest number, so at the moment what I'm talking about with number is there's a 9 plus a 1 plus a 3. So white currently has 13, blue currently has 8. So at the moment, if the game were to finish right now, white would get 20 points and blue would get 10 points. Now, this is one of those extra little rules. They're a little bit funky, but just for the 2-player game. In order to actually gain any points for the second largest number of keys in an area or largest number on keys in an area, you have to have at least half of the number, which means if that's what the table looks like when we got to the end of the game, white has 18 points, blue only has 3. So white would get 20 actual points, blue would get no points for that. Blue would have to be up in this space with at least 7 or more points worth against what the white currently has in order for them to get any points at all. Now that's almost everything in the game. You will notice that there are some extra tiles over here. These tiles have money or resources showing on them. What those tiles are about is when these have run out, instead of having your turn, and your turn would at that point literally be moving around one of the areas of the board, because you only have a certain number of keys. Once all those keys are on the board already, you cannot move them to a different area of the board. You can only pay to move them up to a higher number within that portion of the board. Just stepping in here, please notice there is an extra bank here in the middle. So I can, as my turn, put a key there. I'm getting no money for that, but on a future turn, I can pay to move that to absolutely any spot of the board. I wouldn't be able to go over here simply because there's not anything available. You can only have one key, doesn't matter who owns it. There can only be one key on a building. But let's just imagine that that had previously come out. Blue could spend 8 money if he had 8 money. He doesn't currently have it, but if he had 8 money, he could spend the 8 money and the wood and move to there, gaining that marker. So once all of those have been removed and put onto the board, instead of having a go and paying to move your key up in one of the spaces, you can pick up this whole pile, select one of the things, so maybe he needs some more money, take that and put the tiles back face down. You can then use that as 3 money or as a resource. Notice that those resources and money are just used as what they actually are. The ones that are money, by the way, can be traded in for actual money to use, so you don't have to use all 3 in one hit. But any of the prestige or resources kind of things, they are just literally the actual marker stays behind your board. When you use it, you use the actual marker. The game will finish once this whole pile has been taken by players. So if you find that you don't have a whole bunch to do and someone else has heaps they can do, getting through that pile of tiles as quickly as you can may actually be of benefit to you. Whoever triggers the end game, we finish the round. So if white was first player and white triggered the end game by taking the last flag, blue would get 1 more turn. If blue did it, then they've already had their equal amount of turns. Then there's 1 more turn for each player and at that point. And that's a turn in which you'll probably want to trade in any resources that you have or use any resources that you have. At which point, whoever has this tile will gain a point per coin they have. And then we go to each of the spots that have one of these markers and we do that counting up of the score as previously mentioned. Whoever has the highest score at that point is the winner. If it is equal, it comes down to whoever has the most money. The only other thing I haven't really said about is with these, because the number 9 was put in, a future player could put in a number 12. As long as the number is continually ascending, you can put in any number of those tiles in the one space that you wish, as long as you're able to pay the cost, and the cost is in that top right-hand corner, as well as the difference between where you stand and actually getting onto the tile. So I think that that is everything for Paris. I hope this helps you get Paris to the table. Please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.